Alright, so for processing images, I use Surreal and Photoshop and sometimes Lightroom. But today I'm going to show you how to do it on Surreal and Photoshop. So you're going to first open it from up here and just go to your installation and just find the correct folder. I just got to check what it's called really quickly because they name it in alphabetical order. So it starts with an I. It's going to be somewhere down here. Where is it? This one, JPEG. That's your image. And okay, so we have the image here, red, green, blue, and RGB. So you do have quite a bit of details in the galaxies, which I like that you can see without doing any processing to it. So first we're going to go to color calibration and just select a part of the sky with like no stars. Just it doesn't have to be no stars, but try to get as close to no stars as possible. And then hit use current selection to fix the white reference and just select like a really bright star. That should correct the background. As you can see, it got rid of that like purpley greenish noise in there. And then background extraction, I like to put this up. Most people like to put it down, but I like to put it up. It doesn't matter how many samples you do from what I can tell. But yeah, I put it at 70, leave the tolerance at 1, and then hit generate, and it should circle around the galaxies, which is good. So you don't have to do anything. But if it didn't circle around the galaxies, what you would do is you go to like blue, for example, and you'd right click. As you can see, it'd get rid of some of them. So, and then if you left click, you can add. So yeah, we're just gonna hit apply onto the galaxies and close. And I can see a lot of unwanted noise already, but we can remove that in Photoshop. So I'll do another background extraction at 10. And just make sure these green boxes aren't on the galaxies or on your target. Always want to make sure they're not on the target. Hit apply. Sometimes it doesn't do it the way you want it to, which is kind of annoying, but it's okay. And then we can remove the green noise. And I think I just made a mistake, which I probably always forget to do. But make sure it's on auto stretch. See, there we go. That's why no details really came out. Okay, so now wait, let's correct this quickly. Okay, so we're gonna start back from square one. There's a lot of noise in the auto stretch, which is concerning, but it's fine. We can remove that in Photoshop and Lightroom, obviously. So current selection, then select the bright star in the galaxy there. Use current selection and apply. Fix that white. Now there's a lot of green noise in there, so you're just going to remove green noise from here. Good. And now background extraction, which we can do on the green channel. Um, I'm not like a pro at this, so yeah. But I think depending on whatever channel you're on, it does make a difference from what I've seen. Yeah, okay. So there's definitely some splurges here, but we can remove that, no biggie. And then we just left click to left click and hold to make a box. Right click, crop, boom. You've cropped your image. And now we can save it here as whatever you want to call it. Because it's not a raw file that you, I'm assuming, I think, because it's not a raw file, it's gonna come out in lower quality because this is also a JPEG. So if you didn't, if you doing astrophotography and you on like a Canon, which is what I use, I strongly suggest using RAW. I didn't really look at your setup, but I saw that I didn't really see what camera you're using. But if you're using a Canon, put it in RAW and take as many pictures as you want, obviously. So yeah, we're just gonna name this Bodes and Cigar, and just save it to the folder here and save. We don't want any compression, but we want the quality to be good, as you can see. So you're gonna get a lot of noise and stuff in a JPEG, which I made this on my first try too. I was shooting in JPEG instead of RAW, and it really added a lot of unwanted noise to my image. So now we're gonna open up Photoshop and just give it a second. Sometimes it takes a bit time to open. And yeah, uh, always put it on auto stretch because I always make that mistake. I always forget to put it on auto stretch. But just do that so you can see and get a rough visualization of what your image is gonna look like. I always forget to do that, but you know, you forget something once in a while and you kind of remember again. But so yeah, Photoshop will open up, File, Open. Everyone knows how to do this, and then we'll find bodesandcigar.jpg, and we'll open it. So this is currently what our image looks like with the background extraction on Surreal. If I go to my downloads and open this, this is the first image. As you can see, there's a lot of like purple and green in there, and I kind of removed that and brought more detail out of it. But we can fix some of that noise because that's not really good, and we don't want that type of noise. So we're gonna go to our levels and obviously stretch the image. Now, every astrophotographer does this, and this is to bring out all details in the image. I'm sure if you search up some YouTube videos on how to do it, you'll find much better explanations on how you can stretch your image. But as you can see, like the black point, I'm not clipping the data. By clipping, it means I'm bringing the black point too far, and I'm just bringing it to wherever I feel it looks good. But there's a lot of hot pixels. I think, no, not hot pixels, noise in there. So we don't really want that. So we can't really move it. We can move it a tiny bit. And then move our mid-tone. Okay, there's a lot of noise. Wow. Alright, now we'll go to our adjustments, do curves, and then pull this down, pull this up, and see how much noise I just got rid of right there by just doing a curve adjustment. Now, it lacks some detail, but see, a lot of noise has just been removed just by doing curve adjustments. So, curve adjustments help a lot. Would recommend. And I'm just going to use a plugin called Hasta La Vista Green. This is a free plugin. There's many videos on YouTube on how to install Photoshop plugins. But you just install a plugin. I normally use it on strong. This just gets rid of the green noise. And then RC Astro Gradient Exterminator. I use this and then put it on fine and medium. And as you can see, it kind of corrected out that blue and the yellow, which is good because we want to have it corrected. And then we can do some more level adjustments, as you can see, because we've kind of balanced out the gradient, which is good. Just trying not to clip the data, just making sure this point is behind this, your peak, whatever it's called. So that looks good. We can obviously do some, what do you call it? Some fixing some noise in Photoshop. But I'm gonna do something I call LRGB processing. Now, I normally do this on nebulae, but it's good to give it a shot on some galaxies because it does work sometimes. Keep in mind, I just said sometimes, so you always want to make sure what you're doing is good. So first, you're going to go to Filter, and then Noise, Dust, and Scratches. Now, most people don't have Photoshop and have Lightroom, but I'm assuming if you have Lightroom, you should have Photoshop. Unless you get the cracked version, which you can find a cracked version of Photoshop, so that's fine. So yeah, you do dust and scratches, and this should just play around with it till most of the fine detail comes back. So some of these brighter stars just pop out of the image there. And then you're going to go to Blur, Gaussian Blur, and just bring the blur radius down. Because it's a galaxy, you don't want to blur it too much. Just bring the blur radius down to about 0.8 pixels. Okay, now for our second layer, this is where actually before we do that, just going to do a quick curve adjustment. Always do your curve adjustments. They help quite a bit. See how much detail just came out right there? Yeah, so I always do S-curve adjustments, which most people do, especially in Lightroom for editing just regular photos. And I just converted that to a smart object. And then layer 1 copy here. We're going to put this in black and white. So we're just going to adjustments, black and white. And here we can correct some of the fine details here. Now you don't want to go too harsh on some of the stuff As you can see, look at how much noise comes out with the cyans. So we're going to bring the cyans down so we just get a balanced out, like some average noise. And then our blues are normally where a lot of noise comes in, because blue is subject to more noise. Magentas, I like to leave it around 80, because that seems to be good for me. But depends what you like. But for when I put it in black and white, I always try to make sure I'm not messing up any of the noise. So I'm trying to keep that noise balanced, which looks like it's decently balanced. So after we put in black and white, just do another curve adjustment. Always important to do curve adjustments. When I was processing in LRGB, like when I first started, I never really did curve adjustments, but damn, they help a lot to bring out some of those fine details. And I just shift click here, in case you're wondering, and then right click, convert to smart object. Alright, now this is the last layer. And notice how I turned off the background. I just do that to compare differences between the LRGB and the regular. But yeah, I also forgot to mention, when you're copying and pasting it, it's Control J or Command J, depending if you're on Mac or Windows, obviously. Okay, so now we're going to do the same thing what we did to the first one. Actually, no, we're not going to do that. Skip that part. We're just going to put it in black and white. And we can go more aggressive to everything a bit. Normally, I tend to just move the yellows just a tiny bit up and keep those greens good. So, as you can see, when I bring the greens up, a lot of the galaxy gets distorted, which we don't want. I bring it down, it kind of gets too dark. So, bring the greens out, level that. And then we'll do black and white. Oh, no, not black and white. I already did that. Just delete this. Delete layer. Yes. And curve adjustments. Always curve adjustments. So I just made the image a bit darker. Trying not to blow the highlights too much, but also trying to blow the highlights, because you can obviously correct them in Photoshop, but blowing out the highlights and bringing the background really dark helps for reducing some noise. So then we're going to just select these two using shift click, drag it down to this little folder here. Actually, wait, no, before we do that, I forgot to do something. So we just remove these two. Curve number 3. We're going to Control A. Wow, I didn't mean to do that. Control A, Control C, and then open this. And then down here, create a new layer. Alt click that, Alt left click, and then Control V, and then Control I. And this will help just bring out some of the more finer details, as you can see. And then we select these two, and then bring it to this little folder, and then select this to be luminosity. And as you can see, I brought so much more fine detail out just by doing that. And if you want to see a comparison between it, this is the first one, second one. See how much noise just got reduced and how much detail just came out? This is how LRGB processing helps quite a bit. So we can just go here, deselect, and then just do, yeah, okay. So that's good. So I'm just going to keep the just remove the background because we don't really need this anymore. So delete layer, yes. Okay, now we just have these two and file, and we'll export it as a PNG to our downloads folder. And then from here, we're going to go to Lightroom just to show you how to do a few cool tricks on Lightroom. I'm sure you can find YouTube videos on how to do the processing that I do in a much better explanation. But just the way I do it is a little bit different than other people, because I'm showing you how to do this with all the steps that I do in trying to under like 20 minutes-ish. So hopefully Lightroom doesn't crash. It always says it's going to crash. Yeah, see, there. Alright, so we can go to downloads, select Bodes and Cigar, move this in here, close, and then import. Simple. Okay, so we just import our files into our current location, give it a minute, if it wants to import. Sometimes, okay, there we go, finally. Alright, so now that we're here, we're going to bring the contrast up. I like to bring the contrast up a lot and then play around with it. So I think we can actually bring it down a bit because we're not trying to blow out the highlights in these two galaxies. And then increase the blue, as you can see, to reduce some of that green noise. And then we're going to go down to lens correction, amount, and just remove some, defringe some of the image, as you can see. And then go around with the highlights. Okay, highlights seem to blow out the cigar galaxy quite a bit. I'm trying to keep the cigar galaxy to have as much detail as possible, but that's kind of hard, especially when you're trying to make sure bodes, right? Hopefully I'm not mixing these two up, especially when you're trying to keep the bodes galaxy in line. So yeah, smooth, keep the whites good. Blacks, obviously don't want to bring that black point too far down, so bring it down quite a bit just to remove some of that blue in the background. And then texture, I always like to play with the texture a bit, because everyone does. Who doesn't? Dehaze. Okay, I don't think we're going to do any dehaze. Clarity, sure, I can bring that up a tiny bit. And then curve adjustment, of course. Always do S-curves. From my experience, I know just to do S-curves. You can always do like arc curves where it's like it starts to arc up. But I just do an S-curve because it's quite simple and pretty basic. Nothing too big. And I'm just going to quickly balance this out. So just flatten the curve quickly. Bring this down and then up a tiny bit. Tiny bit, remember. So I'm just going to create a slight S-curve. Now I'm going to change the yellows. I think I'm going to keep it quite yellow. Just, this is what I do when I'm just correcting with the HSL sliders. Purple kind of makes the background more blue, which is kind of what you want it to be, more darker, not red, obviously, because, you know, the sky isn't red. If we adjust the blues, it becomes more red here, but it also makes it a little darker. So I think that's good. Red saturation, bring that down. Blue saturation, bring that down. And as you can see, we've just corrected the background. And we just got rid of all that blue. Magenta gets rid of some of the noise. Luminance, red, good. Blue's going to make a difference when bringing down the luminance, but I'm actually going to bring it up. And just to decrease some of the noise, bring purple down. Magenta, bring that down as well. And some sharpening. If we sharpen it too much, it's going to bring way too much noise out, so it's not good. But noise reduction, just to make sure everything seems more flattened and smoothed out. And then we're just going to do a quick, what would you call this? Radio filter. So just adjust it. I'm sure you know how to do this if you have Lightroom. Everyone knows how to use radio filters. But just for the sake of showing you, I will show you because this is a pretty quintessential part for processing images. So you're just gonna hit invert and lower the contrast, trying not to blow out the bodes. I mean the cigar. So I'm just gonna use this to help me guide my way. Zoom in a bit and just decrease it. Okay, wait. Let's see if we're to zoom back out. I think that looks good. I just brought back some of the detail. I mean, I darkened it a bit, but you want to try and preserve as much detail and reduce as much noise as possible. So this is our final image here. Just gonna export it. Now you can choose to do exactly what I do or play around more with it. I'm just trying to go as fast as possible in like under 20 minutes, but yeah. So yeah, this is how I process my images, and hopefully you like it. If you want to play around with it, you can follow some of the parts in Lightroom or Photoshop, but just remember, always try and find Astro plugins. By the way, the Gradient Exterminator plugin costs money, but you can get a free trial, and you can get as many free trials as you want. Actually, you have to make multiple emails, but I have multiple emails, so that's fine. So no biggie for me. So yeah, So, thanks for watching on how I process my images. If you have any questions or feedback, just message me in the chat box below. Anyways,